Live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first meetup of the month of October that's being hosted by the BGA. Today, we have a quite exciting topic about Game NFT Makers, how to get started with this tool, how to best use them, and why they are important in the ecosystem. Before that, for those of you who are not familiar with the Blockchain Game Alliance, I'd like to run you through a short presentation of who we are and what we are doing in the space. We are essentially a non-profit organization committed to promoting blockchain within the game industry. We have over 150 members now and keep growing month after month. We just had yesterday our September new members presentation, seeing a lot of great projects that came this month. Our goal is to spread awareness about blockchain technology, non-fungible token, decentralized gaming, cryptocurrency, DAO, DeFi, etc., and show how they can foster new way to create games, publish game, develop or play game, engage with communities, build, reward players with play to earn, for example, etc. We're a strong advocate for diversity and try as much as possible to involve women on every panel. So today, unfortunately, is an exception, but we'll bring more women on stage for our next events. And we provide an open forum for individuals and companies to share knowledge, to collaborate, to network together, do business, create common standards, establish best practice, and many more things. So, such as networking, research and reporting, representing blockchain game companies, and advocating for blockchain within the game industry. As you can see from this picture, we do have a large amount of numbers, now grown over 150 companies, whether they are blockchain games, chains and protocol, press and media, games, developer solution, esport platform, and many other type of projects. That makes the space super exciting. We always have new things coming up. And I wanted to give a big thanks to our sponsors as well: Animoca Brands, Arc.io, Ubisoft, Galaxy Interactive, MakerDAO, Algorand, Chromia, Matic, AMD, and Mobox for their extra support to what the BGA is accomplishing. We have done many activities and events almost once a month since we started. And as you can see, we've had interviews, one-on-one interviews with industry leaders and game executives. We've had workshops on various thematic, legal topics, DeFi and gaming, DAOs and governance, decentralized gaming working group. We are going to announce a few more working groups this month, as well as new activities like our upcoming demo day, which is something new we are launching, where you'll be able to see live games, live product being played directly. Every month we have, at the end of the month, we have our new member presentations. We offer free speaking opportunities to various events around the world, as well as free tickets to attend those events and keep learning more and more about this fantastic space. We've dedicated several events with 100% women speakers, and we'll continue to do so in the future. And we've launched thematics. So thematics around NFTs. We have had, I think now it's our 7th event on the topic of NFTs. Today we are going to see how to make your own game NFT. And we are going to have some of the main speakers who have the platform, the developers platform, that enable game developers to create NFTs. So that's going to be very interesting. Right before that, I'd like to invite you to join the BGA. You can follow us on Twitter, on Medium, or on Telegram and Discord as well. That's it. Thank you. And now Serena, our host, is going to introduce the speakers for today.
Thank you so much, Sébastien, and welcome to our guest speakers for today. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. So
Hello.
Wonderful to have you here today. We're going to start with a short introduction to you. So we're going to have Steve introducing himself and Game Credits. Hello, Steve, and welcome.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, Serena. I appreciate it. I'm happy the game is a member of the BGA. It's a fantastic organization. So I am the CMO of Game Credits, as well as Digitable. and I have had this role for about 6 months. And Game Credits is a platform from 2014 that has just been kind of rejuvenated with a new team and new tech. So we can kind of dive into what we're doing, the future questions. But yes, so Game is kind of here and fits along with what BGA is doing and kind of its focus.
Thank you so much. And then we welcome Craig Russo. Hey, nice to meet you. How are you?
Great to be here. Yeah, so I'm Craig Russo. I'm the Director of Innovation at Polyient Labs. It's an early stage blockchain startup incubator. And I'm leading the development of Polyient Games, which is a spin-off of Polyient Labs that's focused solely on the NFT market, blockchain gaming, and decentralized finance applications.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being here today with us. And then we have Tim from the Arkane network. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Serena. Thanks for having me. So yes, I'm one of the co-founders of Arkane, and our philosophy is that game studios and companies, they need a seamless experience, both from a developer and from a user perspective when they're dealing with blockchain. So we end up building like a middle layer solution so that anything related to their development needs, we can tackle that for them.
Super, thank you. And great to have you here today. And we then welcome Alex Russman from Enjin.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I'm Director of Business Development at Enjin. Enjin provides an ecosystem of developer tools and integrated products that allow anyone to very easily leverage blockchain into their products. So I'm super excited to talk about NFTs. We make the process of making NFTs and using them very easy. So very excited to have this conversation with you guys.
Amazing, and welcome to this panel to all of you. All right, so we have prepared a number of questions for you that we'll love to go through during this live talk. And I also want to remind everybody that please feel free to send through any questions, comments you'd like to discuss with us during this live conversation. We'll be very happy to pick up comments and questions as we go through the live. So feel free to share it with us. Before we dive into the questions, I would love to, for all of you, to give a short introduction to your project, which I think it will sort of be a nice intro to the different projects and make everyone understand what the conversation will be about today. So today we're going to be talking about Game NFTs Makers and how to get started. So I'm going to start with Craig, which is next to me. So Craig, can you give us a quick intro about the project and how to get started? You know, what would be the introduction you would give to somebody that knows very little about the project?
Yeah, so we're an investment firm that's focused on the NFT asset class, and part of our really our investment process, we launched a third-party ecosystem that's designed to facilitate the interactions at the both application and asset level within blockchain gaming and adjacent industries that leverage NFTs. So we're really interested in facilitating the internal economies associated with blockchain games, which as the space is evolving is going to become even more important as it relates to things like yield farming, unique ways to sell NFTs, growth hacking, and really facilitating long-term user retention for these essentially indie games. So we're hyper focused on the NFT asset class and finding unique ways to build out those interactions, both in between games as well as in between users and the application layer.
Lovely. Thank you so much for this intro. And I forgot to say that I love your T-shirt, by the way. Great outfit today.
Oh, yeah, there we
go. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I now pass on the word to Tim, which is next to Craig. Hey, Tim. So yes, can you spend a few words about the project? And yes, if you were going to explain that to somebody that doesn't know much and how they could get started.
Yeah, well, actually for us, that's quite easy because we're focusing on traditional game studios more or less. As in, for them, we're looking at game assets, and yes, this is something that then you can register on blockchain in the form of an NFT. But primarily, we were talking about the monetization of these game assets, and then we're using the blockchain as a backend technology to support their needs, so that for them, in the end, they're doing the same things that they're doing today, but instead of their traditional software stack, we're shifting that over to blockchain. And then the NFT is where the asset is registered and where the network is used to transfer that asset between different parties within that game. And what we then provide them is, well, the development tools to create that asset, as in they already know how to develop this in the game engine. But how do they actually put this on the blockchain? This is something that our platform supports. And more or less what we then also cover is adding that into their inventory system so that they can see that, and providing the tools for the end users or the gamers that in the end should not know anything about blockchain to play the game or to manage their NFTs, which is in the end just a game asset that retains some value because you transfer the ownership between the game studio and the gamer itself.
Wonderful, thank you. That was very clear. Thank you so much. And now we're off to Alex. Hello, right here. So Alex from the Enjin team. Hi. Give us a quick intro about the project and yes.
So Enjin's all about reducing the friction for interaction with blockchain technology. So a key starting point here would be the Enjin developer platform. So if you're a game developer, you use the Enjin platform to interact with the blockchain. And we do the heavy lifting of the smart contracts and the blockchain code for you. Provide nice interface for you to interact with, and also provide SDKs so you can use the game engine and the tools you're used to using. And the blockchain part becomes very simple. It's more about the aspect of interacting with NFTs and how they fit into your game as these sort of unique, rare, scarce assets that they can then move between different virtual worlds. Because once you have these developer tools, once you have these SDKs, the blockchain can really work as this agnostic, decentralized bridge between different worlds created in different game engines, which is very exciting. And we already see interoperability between some of our own Enjin adopter games in this way. And the other part to this removal of friction is very much in terms of the game player products we provide. So the Enjin platform is complemented by the Enjin wallet, which makes interacting with blockchain games very easy. It makes holding blockchain assets very rewarding. And that would be the starting point. I would say, get hold of some of these NFTs, experience the feeling of having them. And the Enjin wallet's powered by our very own blockchain explorer, Enjin, which has built into it a blockchain marketplace to be able to trade your assets in a decentralized manner. So we're very much an integrated ecosystem, a great sort of starting point to leap into this world of blockchain and get playing with some game NFTs.
Amazing, wonderful. Well, thank you so much and great to have you here. Steve, off to you. Let's see if I can find you there.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's weird to be pointing, but
no, by all means.
I'm not to be addressing people. Anyways, it's great to have you here, Steve from Games Credit. If you can give us a quick intro about the project, would be wonderful. Thanks.
So Games' main focus, and Alex, hats off. Enjin is one I'm definitely watching and a bag holder myself. So like Enjin, we're trying to remove barriers. I've been in the crypto scene for some time, and I have to say over the last 5 years, it's got significantly easier. There's a lot less, roadblocks in order to achieve what you're trying to do in this space. And we're trying to do the same for gaming blockchain with esports and with the Foundry or minting tool. So we kind of want to be a one-stop shop where if you want a marketplace, if you want to mint something, if you'd like to stake on your favorite champion, if you'd like to do some DeFi and kind of split rewards with an artist as you're a collector of that artist. So we're trying to kind of bring down any barriers for the end user and who they're engaging with. So they're actually kind of speaking with each other on that level. And then as well, instead of having to utilize multiple platforms, anything can be done in-house. And that should be pretty much live within the next 8 weeks.
Wonderful, great plan. Thank you. So it's nice to have all of you here, guys. We had a first question coming from the audience, so I'm just going to quickly answer that one, and then we'll move on to our planned questions. So Alex, this one I believe is for you. So does Enjin wallet support non-Ethereum NFT?
No, the wallet supports Ethereum-based NFTs. So our CTO helped develop, led the development of the ERC 1155 standard for creating both non-fungible tokens and fungible tokens, and those are beautifully supported in the Enjin wallet. That would be.
Thank you.
Any other questions there?
Yeah. I think that would answer the question. Okay, so here we go. So I'm just sharing my screen now, having the questions I would like to discuss with you today. So the first one, fairly easy, I would say, but it will give us a great insight into every single project, is what does it mean to be a game NFTs maker? So thinking about the people that are actually working and creating games in NFTs and developers, I would love to have your insight and answer that question. So Craig, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. Yeah, really what it means to build games that leverage NFTs, it really places developers, studios in a position where they're in a crossroads between traditional game development and managing a token economy, which if you've done either of those, it's a very complex path in of itself. So by leveraging NFTs, while it opens up a lot of unique opportunities in terms of internal economies, tapping into a larger user base, it also brings a lot of complexities and a lot of additional management you have to consider. And I'll keep looping things back into Polyient games with my answers, but really the economics and the tokenomics side of things is so essential to these early stage games that really are going down long development paths as most games require. But if they're doing pre-sales of NFTs or want to really begin gearing up their more DeFi-like applications, it's really important to spend as much time on that as you are developing the game. And so for teams that are bootstrapping their development, that can be very difficult. And so that's really one of the things we aim to help facilitate is, how do we get, as a game developer, how do I get my token economy off the ground? And really what we're doing is opening up our ecosystem as a way to tap into liquidity, tap into users to facilitate that initial growth. And what we see with the NFT asset class is an opportunity to really leverage the utility associated with the assets themselves, which, the utility tokens of 2017 had a lot of promise, not a lot of follow through. We really see NFTs and blockchain gaming as a way to perfect that model and make token economies more functional from the get-go.
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction, Craig. I think you've also explained the meaning of what the question was about. I would love for us to have a conversation, so also addressing the same question to everyone else in this panel, and inviting everyone also to ask questions to each other so we can have a conversation. And I want to get team as well to answer the same question or give an insight to what it means to be a game NFT maker. So feel free to ask questions also to each other around this topic.
All right. So for me, I interpret this question a little bit differently sometimes. It's not necessarily what does it mean to be a game NFT maker, but what does it mean to be a game studio that monetizes game assets? Because underlying what you're doing is you're going to make the game asset an NFT, and that is something that you want to monetize. And I agree that you can monetize this somewhat better using NFTs, because then you can go into the pre-sale of the assets so that you can use that as a bankroll to further develop the game, or where you can actually also reduce the distribution costs, as you saw with the battle between Fortnite and I think it's Apple at the moment, where you can start using the blockchain network to make those transactions and make those assets monetize in a different way. And then going back deeper into the question, what does it mean to develop the assets as a game studio in the form of NFTs? I think it should reflect as close as possible to how they're developing and creating the game assets today. As in the end, putting it on the blockchain should not change the way that they're developing their games today.
I see. Interesting. It's interesting to have different views on the same question. Thank you. Steve and Alex, what are your views and what you'd like to add on the first question?
I would say with game veering off the game, so to speak, element of it, what we're trying to achieve is more engagement. So for example, if we had an esports champion who is offering a one-of-one NFT for whomever stakes the most that month on them, it might be where they have a one-on-one Zoom call that's an AMA, or there's some sort of reward for an athlete. It might be where if you have the most rewards, next time they're in that city, you would have a one-on-one meeting with them. So we're trying to kind of flip NFTs right now. We think of it maybe as art or a crypto kitty or something of that type, but it also can be an event ticket, a one-of-one access to something backstage. So I think we're only scratching the surface of what this NFT ecosystem is going to blow up to be. And right now it's a strange use case, but usually gaming and and collectibles and whatnot kind of kick things off. And as we're seeing, that's exactly what's happening.
Thank you for that. Alex, what would you like to add to that?
I think being a game NFT maker is really being one of the most pioneering people in the industry, in both industries we work in, both in terms of blockchain and the games industry. So really picking up on Craig's point about people who have these gaming projects and looking for ways to be successful with NFTs. I think you're really working with cutting edge technology, and it's as part of my role, I get to oversee the Enjin adopter program and work with more than 30 teams who are using Enjin's tools to interact with blockchain technology. And they're doing that in ways we couldn't predict. They are sort of innovating with technology, with innovations that we have delivered, but we didn't know that they'd be used in that way. And so I think, similar to the point Craig made, this is really about knowledge sharing as well. It's about constantly learning from others, how to build an effective token economy, how to design your project in a way that makes the best use of NFTs, but also isn't going to break as a result of that integration. And it really is a pleasure and an honor to work with some of the greatest minds in this space. Game NFTs are really exciting, but it's also about that knowledge share. I think it's important to be constantly talking to other game NFT makers, and you helping people who are entering the ecosystem for the first time find their way and work out the best business model and the best development model. And I think that's what this industry is really good at: collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think keeping that communication channel open and having this knowledge sharing is so vital to the whole industry and the growth of it. I'd like to move on now onto the second question and sort of pick up from what team shared with us earlier, and asking what is specific to games for NFTs that differs from other class of NFTs? Because I think in your by addressing the first question, you already sort of mentioned some differences there. So I don't know if you'd like to expand on that.
Is that for me?
Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. I think for games, what will differ is one is the rate of adoption of the NFTs in games. I believe the gaming industry is always one of the first to take on new innovation. Also because there's a lot of microtransactions going on. But for the NFT specifically, what I would see is that they will become more complicated and bundled, where you have a character, you have different skins, you have your weapon, you have your boots, you have your armor, and all of these have different characteristics and traits and properties, and they evolve over time. So the complexity of the NFT, of how that evolves and becomes more valuable, I think that will be a very different thing compared to, for example, art. I think that will be more like a static NFT.
Thank you. And Craig, would you like to announce on that point as well?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think there's a lot more expectation baked into gaming NFTs relative to traditional collectible NFTs. As Tim just said, these are more static artwork collectibles. You understand that that's stored in your wallet. Whereas if you're participating in an NFT sale for a game, you really are looking for some kind of underlying application utility, first in your own game, and then hopefully long term in other games, which I know Alex has been heavily focused on at Enjin. So I think there's a higher degree of expectations associated with it, but the potential and the ceiling is a lot higher in terms of value and utility.
Interesting. Yes, thank you. And Steve, what would you like to share with us about different classes of NFTs and how these are useful in the game industry? Oh, I'm gone. I'm going to unmute you. Oh, can you unmute yourself?
It's going to be interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when someone, for example, takes, say, a piece of their ASIC art that's in a game, and one day it's going to have the sun in it. The next day it might have the moon showing in it. So being able to make those decisions as someone who did not design that game or part of the team, that's a very cool aspect, and I think we'll see that kind of blow up and become its own industry, as a whole. As far as Alex, I do have a question for you. As far as fungible, how is that kind of panning out? And are there anything business models coming out of this that weren't planned in the beginning that kind of have just come out of fruition by default?
So I think you cut out there briefly, Steve. Do you say fungible or non-fungible?
Well, I thought it was working on a semi-fungible, so it had the characteristics of both, so to speak.
Semi-fungible, so a mixture of fungible and non-fungible? Is it?
Yes,
sorry,
I read Enjin was kind of trying to pioneer something in that aspect, and I was just very curious about it. Maybe that's.
I think well, the ERC 1155 standard is really about being able to create both the fungible tokens and the non-fungible tokens within the same smart contract, and that delivers a huge amount of efficiencies on the Ethereum network in terms of gas, in terms of the transactions. I'm not perhaps sure exactly which scenario you're describing there, but fungible tokens are certainly a big complement to non-fungible tokens, especially in the game space. Because games have many of their own currencies inside the game, and I mean perhaps not at the moment with current Ethereum congestion, but it could be that down the line, every bullet in your weapon or every piece of wood on a planet is created as a fungible token, as a token on the blockchain. We'll perhaps see your whole virtual worlds based on blockchain assets, which is perhaps fairly far in the future, but maybe not as far as we think. And at that stage, when you have an entirely tokenized world, things get very interesting. I think for me, what's specific to games for the NFTs, I think what we're already seeing, but what's going to happen a lot more, is that games will be increasingly described as sort of virtual worlds and digital experiences. So at the moment, we think about NFTs being realized in a virtual world as a sort of 3D or 2D asset that you can interact with within the game world. But as we have more and more of these games become social spaces where social experiences are lived out, these art NFTs will appear in those worlds. And at that stage, are they a game NFT? Are they a cosmetic? Or is it really the fact that we're creating this digital economy in this digital world, and then space projects are the spaces in which you can then utilize those assets? So I think what's specific for games NFTs is that they're in one aspect, some of the most exciting interactive experiences currently.
Interesting. Yes, the scenario that you've described just now, it's resonates with me, because I always think about art and games, for example, and I've been in a way always historically sort of separated the two, and now the more I learn about NFTs, I see how actually everything is similar in a way when we discuss it, with a purpose in terms of NFTs. So that's interesting that you refer to that as assets in worlds, in space. We have a few questions coming from the audience, so if you would like to answer that, I'm gonna start with So a more general question about NFTs and the future of NFTs. What you see on the future of NFTs? Are they still worth it? And then the question follows up, are still going well like now or maybe better? So what are your views in terms of the future of NFTs? Do you think that these will keep growing like they do now, or maybe not, or maybe something else will come up? General question, anybody can answer that.
Yeah.
I think just
you
go first, Craig.
Go ahead, Alex. Sure. Yeah, we're obviously hyper bullish on the NFT asset class. I think the applications that it unlocks, not only in blockchain gaming, but in adjacent industries and even in the financial industry, are very exciting. We see the current path of adoption coming through the traditional cryptocurrency user relative to the traditional gamer, which was the thesis for the longest time. We really have been pushing this concept of expanding internal economies to leverage both fungible and non-fungible tokens to facilitate those bridges with the traditional cryptocurrency world. So right now, the space is probably at the top of a hype cycle as it relates to DeFi, but this is really what the future is going to be for the NFT asset class, and we think that the adoption will only increase from here.
Thank you. Alex, you wanted to add to that?
Yes, I was going to say, with the increasing number of layer 2 solutions on Ethereum, and of course, small shout out to Enjin's upcoming Efinity, the ability to send and receive your NFTs instantly, not have to pay fees, is really going to open up the space and allow for a lot more experimentation and engagement there. But like Craig says, there's a huge number of different uses for NFTs. I mean, outside of the blockchain and crypto space, we're already seeing the sort of digitization of assets and sort of fractional ownership there. And what we're doing here is really laying the groundwork for all sorts of projects to enter the space very quickly once we remove the friction and remove the issues around congestion. But at the same time, yes, the NFTs are only going to get more exciting. And the other shout out would be watch out this December for the 2020 NFT Awards being hosted by Enjin and the DEA. That is going to be a wonderful opportunity to just see how many categories of NFTs that are out there, shine a spotlight on all the different ranges of exciting projects and allow each to kind of come into their own within a category. We've got a great lineup of judges, which I think soon to be released, just in case marketing tells me off for that.
I'm just going to jump in as well, because I also believe that the future of NFTs is going to be big. And the reason is it's not limited to one ecosystem, because with blockchain, you open up that ecosystem to multiple ecosystems. And then what you can do with your game is you can invite brands, and brands are going to take the strategy of saying, I'm going to do personal branding on a specific item, and I'm going to create items, and that will be in the form of NFTs that the game designer can develop for them. And then they can say, okay, we can put this inside the game, and later on you can take it outside of the game. And there is a big benefit that you're creating for that brand. A good example, I would think, is something that you could very easily do with NFTs today, is what Burger King did in FIFA 2021. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that would be, for me, an ideal use case in saying you can do exactly the same thing with NFTs, put that in a tournament, and have a tournament create a digital asset like that, which later on can be used within the game, where the winner would actually say, look, I'm actually the winner of that tournament. And if you then would say, I want to sell that item later on, well, that's also perfectly possible to do so, giving them a monetary value next to the branding value of that.
Interesting. Thank you for bringing that up as an example. There's a question coming from Marcus that I'll probably like Steve and team to answer. It would be interesting to see NFT trend metrics in terms of function. What functions built into NFTs seem to dominate the current gaming environment? Steve, would you like to share your thoughts on that?
As far as assets, ownership is, I don't know, it's a no-brainer for any gamer. From what I've seen with my children throwing away thousands of dollars for V-Bucks, and never seen that again. Never will see it again. So as far as in the future, I don't know if we'll see it as what we see it as now. It'll be the same as an investment tool. And I think that's how I see a lot of what I own, whether it be an NFT, a piece of art, a card from gods. So I would say where the definition behind an NFT may change over the next 3 to 5 years to be something of an asset class similar to owning a Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else wants to answer the same question, or we can move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think Steve's going down the right path there. The NFT asset class, as we call it, will become a standalone alternative digital token to the traditional cryptocurrency and utility token of old. We really see this as an expansion on the vision of some of these early projects. And at the end of the day, the unique things we can do with NFTs from a DeFi and financial instrument perspective are just getting started. So what we see NFTs today as is namely collectibles and in-game items, that's going to wholly shift over the next coming years. And that's something that we're hyper-focused on in terms of unlocking this unique asset potential from a financial product perspective. And this all loops into the utility. These in-game items, those can function typically as financial products long term. If something has tens of or hundreds of thousands of dollars at the value of the application layer, that can transcend into the token economy. And that's really the bridge that we're interested in.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a nice way of seeing the correlations there. I just wanted to share this comment from Robert here, saying the thing that team said about building items, blockade games will do that on Matic with Neon District. That character customizer is now live. The building will happen soon-ish. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, team, but.
So I see that it's a good way forward that Blockade Games is building features and systems like that. And I also like that they're doing it on Matic. It's also a blockchain that we support with Arkane, where we can create the NFTs both on Ethereum and on Matic. So very excited to see that moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's an exciting space and time. We have one more question here. What do you think of wrapping collateralized assets inside an NFT to combine DeFi elements?
Well, I think. I assume this is a heads up about Aavegotchi or Aavegotchi. And I know actually Aave are having their community call in about 20 minutes. So Aavegotchi will be featured there. Not that I'm telling anyone to jump off this call, but no, at Enjin, we've been putting assets inside NFTs since the very beginning. When you create your NFTs on the Enjin platform, you have some Enj inside. And if you choose to melt or destroy those assets, then you can take out the Enjin coin inside and you use that to buy other items or maybe mint your own assets. Of course, I think some people in the comments will remind me that melt is murder. It's always, you have more value in holding the NFT than taking out the asset inside. But certainly, I think projects like Aavegotchi are going to be fascinating to watch in terms of how they use those A tokens. I'm sure we'll see some Enj inside Aavegotchis. I'll have to look out to buy one of those at some point. But the DeFi space is fascinating. Again, looking over to Axie Infinity, it's really benefited from having this space which is so composable. The ability to build a project within the Ethereum ecosystem and then see others interact with that and build complementary projects is really exciting.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll add to that. Alex was hit the nail on the head there with being able to embed tokens, and the 1155 and what they've done with Enjin coin has advanced a lot of that thinking in the space. What we're doing in this regard is that we actually have our own ecosystem NFT called the PGFK, and we're launching a decentralized exchange that's really focused on tokens that are adjacent to the NFT asset class. These are in-game currencies DeFi, fungible tokens that interact with NFTs. And so Polyient Games, as an investor, we're really looking to provide liquidity for these ecosystems. And one of those routes is through our decentralized exchange. We're first launching it on Ethereum, and then we're moving that over to Avalanche eventually. And to that point of embedding and collateralized NFTs, we're actually building out a system where with your PGFK, which is an ERC-721 NFT, you'll actually be able to stake your LP or liquidity provider tokens from the Polyient Games DEX within your PGFK to earn yield as it relates to various different reward outcomes from partner tokens to Polyient Games backed fungible token type staking rewards. So that crosstalk between fungible token, collateralized assets, and NFTs, again, is something that we really see as the future of the asset class. And we hope that our token ecosystem can help facilitate that model and build on the application layer and the interoperability layers that groups like Enjin and stuff are doing so very well right now.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that and articulating on that question. I would love for us now to go back to some of the questions we had for today's panel, but also to tell everyone to keep carrying on with the live questions as well. Okay, so I'm just bringing back the screen with the questions here. Okay, so the next one is, what should game developers choose to work with game NFT making platform rather than build their own? So in terms of somebody who's a game developer, how would you recommend or suggest them to look into to work with platforms that already exist or try and build their own? Anybody can answer that.
I think I'd probably speak on behalf of all of us when I say that now is the time to work with a game NFT making platform, partly because we want to work with developers because we want to know that we're innovating in the right direction, and we want to hear feedback and innovate in the right direction. So the Enjin platform was launched for the public at the start of this year, but that wasn't that was after working with these teams who have been using our technology for many months, even years before that point. And you know how it is when you work with each other, you frustrate each other, but you listen to each other and you come out better as a result. So if you want to influence the way these platforms are being built and make sure they're being built for you, then I would say, yeah, come talk to us now, help shape the future, help shape these platforms. But beyond that, especially if you're new to the technology, using a game NFT making platform provides a framework in which you can start to interact with the technology, start to make your first NFTs. And there's a huge amount of flexibility here. So having being given some simple interfaces and explainers in terms of the steps you should take are absolutely invaluable. It's not just using a platform, it's building on the knowledge of a huge amount of experience that's come before. And again, the Enjin adopters, they often help each other a huge amount more than the Enjin support team does, because they understand the technology and the tools, and they're super fast to reply. We have a very active Enjin adopter Slack going on. I can definitely see some people in the comments who are part of that. So hi guys, yeah, thank you for being so knowledgeable and so helpful.
Thank you. And does anybody want to bring different views, for example, to that question? What would you think a developer should do that is interested in being in this field?
So for me, the developer, I'm going to say developer/game studio, because I would think the game developer is going to do this also in terms of a business reason to develop the game, so that they also want to monetize it and earn more than the cost that they're putting into it, and later on have to shift their focus again. So in that terms, they are going to have to make a decision to either stick with traditional software providers or the traditional ways of developing the game. And then it's going to be a high distribution cost and high distribution fees at all levels. And a very few, like the top 50 or the top 100 AAA games can make it happen for them. But for 99% of the game studios, it's difficult times. And then after that, they then have the choice going into looking into our stack, or saying our platforms. Each of us, I think, we have different benefits and different problems in going forward. But what we would then say is look at the platform also from the again, de-risking with moving forward. And for us, one of the risks is saying, if you're going to stay on Ethereum, when is it going to scale? When is it going to be cost effective? We have taken the position where we're saying we're blockchain agnostic. We're developing an API platform. We're developing wallets. We're developing marketplace solutions, NFTs, that work and can work on different blockchain solutions. So that's for us, de-risking from at the technological perspective. Because in the end, what you want to do is work on your business, work on your game, have the NFTs on a network that can suit your needs, and where you have the trust that you can move forward with the software platform or stack that you're using, and be future-proof. And that's how I see it moving forward.
Thank you. Interesting. I hope everyone else also found it of interest to know how, you guys have different views on what you suggest and recommend to others interested in this.
May I add one quick thing?
Yeah, of course. I just want to address
from an investor's perspective. Oh, sure. Yeah, quickly, but from an investor's perspective, we've seen a lot of blockchain games trying to pitch for venture capital type investments. And it's really important to understand that the exit paths being a blockchain game or even an indie game is not clear at all, especially when you bring in blockchain and some of these pioneering technologies that major game studios aren't necessarily thinking about right now. So my one suggestion is, unless you're developing a very novel technology yourself and you have IP or something along those lines, definitely go with an ecosystem. And whether it's Enjin or whatever that fits your model, you should leverage the ecosystem component from both a technological perspective as well as a user adoption perspective. It's instead of bootstrapping everything, these open ecosystems are designed for onboarding. So just from an investor perspective, we like it, and we want to work with token economies that of founders that are looking to build within ecosystems that have established user bases and leadership.
Thank you. Actually, thank you so much for sharing that views around, from the investor point of view, because I think it's interesting and it might somehow influence the way people might enter the industry. Thank you, Craig, for that. There's a question next for Steve. When will the game meet the NFT creating feature of game credits launch?
We are expecting that to be live within 8 weeks, likely sooner, but do not hold me to that. I will say 8 weeks as a comfortable answer.
Sounds good. Thank
you. On top of utilizing the tools already in place, we're a 6-year-old company. In the last 2 years, 2.5 years probably, with a team of 30 plus people and a lot of funding, we have built the tools that we have now in place that we'll be launching. So for someone to kind of reinvent that now at this stage in the game with the tech that's been built, I don't see the financial value in doing so.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. The next one is for Alex. Could you see Enjin drop in the monthly payment wall for solo creators not requiring API calls to use the Enjin platform?
What I will say is watch this space. Yes, we want to make creating NFTs very, very easy. We want to promote creation of as many different crazy NFTs as you can get. So yes, art NFTs. And yeah, watch this space.
Great, thank you. There's one more, which is a common question that everyone is welcome to answer. Will NFTs make more revenue for creators from initial sale or item, or sending trading fees related to movement of such item? Are there any good numbers on this? Anybody wants to share some insight stories on trading versus initial sale of item?
I think right now, and obviously, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go quickly. Just based on current scalability of where the majority of NFTs currently exist on Ethereum, it's very difficult to scale transaction fees as a sole source of revenue that's sustainable. And that's where a lot of layer 2s and other opportunities will really thrive. So right now, it's the initial sales that are the biggest revenue generators.
True. And Steve,
I would,
or Alex?
I would say it is off the initial sales. A lot of artists, especially well-known artists whose art does sell very well for larger amounts, they're seeing some pretty crazy residuals on their sales. As far as like with Rarible, I would say like anything that's $10 and under. Right now with gas costs, it's completely useless to transact. It's double the gas in the item itself. So unless Matic comes into play, Decentraland gaming and whatnot, that might be a piece that fixes some of that. But for right now, doing the smaller transactions you have with gas fees, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
I think personally, less to do with the blockchain itself, more to do with the games evolving a little bit more, where the items can be used and be playable, and where the aspect of fun also makes the asset perceived more valuable. So if you're looking at F1 Delta Time, if you're looking at Sandbox, here you have either branded assets if you're talking about F1 Delta Time, but if you're looking at Sandbox, you're talking about the users generating assets for the Sandbox, for that ecosystem, where the goal is that game studios are going to be using the assets to create those virtual worlds. So there, I think in time, in the months to come, that will shift from the initial sale of the item or the initial creation of that item to the usage and to the gameplay. But we still need to see that happening.
And Alex, did you want to add to that point as well?
Yes, I repeat the point that yes, with the current congestion issues, on blockchains like Ethereum, it does distort this kind of analysis of this kind of scenario where you're looking at trading fees. But certainly, if you go to Enjin and look through some of the projects there, I won't name any specific names. You can see NFTs and fungible tokens that have transfer fees programmed into them. And this is a really, really exciting aspect of the Enjin platform. Digital creators can program a transfer fee into an item, so every time it changes ownership, whether that's peer-to-peer trading, gifting, third-party marketplaces, they're receiving a fee for that. And it's really, incredibly exciting when you describe this to digital creators who realize for the first time they're incentivized to have their assets resold all across the rails of Ethereum. But with congestion, that's slightly dampened. Another reason to be excited for Efinity. But yes, look through Enjin and you can kind of do napkin math and see that there are some really significant amounts that have been brought in by transfer fees. And some of these items have been initially sold. Some of these items have been given away for free, but there have been various sort of trading games or mechanics. And in some cases, transfer fees are there to slow down trade, but people just love sharing these assets. And the revenues are very big. It's yet another mechanic to play with. And game developers are using that in very interesting, exciting ways.
Thank you, Alex. We have a few minutes to go. There's one more question that I'd love to ask Steve that comes from the audience. What relationships or contracts from the game critics team stemming from Magic the Gathering and Wizards leverage to onboard game companies to use game credits?
Yes, actually, we do have quite the team is made up of some kind of heavyweights from Magic the Gathering. Richard Garfield sits on our board. He's a creator of Magic the Gathering. So for TCG games like Gods Unchained and kind of other games along those lines, it's something that I could see us taking those assets and putting them in game rather than just being a kind of second market sale. Where if you want to bring cards in there, whether it's to stake, whether it's to trade on the marketplace. So I think we're going to see some of these TCG games kind of roll out into more than just something that small people play and is in a very elite group of players, we'll see this kind of stretch out, and it might hit the masses almost like a Pokemon Go would be. And I think Game Credits, our platform, is where those assets would be utilized within the games.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that. So we have only 3 minutes to go. And I would like everybody to sort of, for the wrap up, spending some words on how have you seen the space evolving until 2017, and what do you think we are heading next? So to conclude, I would love everybody to share a few thoughts about how the space has been developing since 2017 and what do you expect to see coming up next. Craig, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, sure. Well, since really the dawn of the CryptoKitty, and even before that with some of the other collectibles, NFT builders always have kind of been in the shadows, and have been building throughout the bear market, and kind of everybody's buddy. No one really hated NFT developers. But as the NFT asset class is becoming more and more prevalent and more known by the larger cryptocurrency community, I think it's important for NFT builders to be aware of the friction that that just organically causes. So I think as we're seeing NFTs to really take off as a real alternative digital asset class, it's going to really cause a lot of unique dynamics within the cryptocurrency space. And I think one of the major things everyone needs to keep thinking about is, how do I not get swept away by all these cool flashy lights, DeFi type things, but instead, how do I build those concepts strongly into my model, that I don't move away from the real application layer that make NFTs so great, that utility. So I think it's important to really be cognizant of these really fly-by-night NFT like projects that haven't put in the man hours that we've seen some of these fantastic teams and the guys that are on this panel today have done. So I think it's really important to just be cognizant of how awareness changes perception and dynamics within an asset class.
Thank you, Craig. And Tim, what we should be expecting coming up soon?
I agree with Craig, as in calling it its own asset class. In the sense, in 2017, we were talking about CryptoKitties. We were talking about the global gaming industry as in being like a $70 billion market. And just 3 years' time, the NFT market itself is a $300 million market, from 0 to 300 million, at least according to the NFT reports that we've recently seen. And based on that, I see indeed that it's going to be a lot broader than gaming itself. Gaming, collectibles, art. Even in the supply chain, I believe it will be used as well for different purposes. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. And Steve and Alex, some thoughts on what we should be expecting in the near future?
Personally, I'm getting a sense similar to pre-ICO days. I saw a lot of people come out of the woodwork, a lot more hype, a lot more attention, a lot more money being thrown around without asking questions. Around 2017 era, I'm getting the sense in the last, say, 2 months, just in the kind of with land sales, with art sales booming, with tons of newbies coming into the space, new sites being launched, they're taking down barriers to get on these sites and sell your items. So I think we're going to see some big things coming in the next 18 months, especially. I see negative things about the ICO boom. People lost a lot of money and a lot of vaporware was kind of exposed. But there was a lot of money thrown at solid projects that made them rapidly advance. Their teams were built out and they could get things done a lot quicker. So I'm hoping the same happens in this space, only with less headaches and and less financial ruin than the ICO brought. But I think there's huge things. And right now, if people think we're seeing some hype in this space now, I don't think we've seen anything compared to what we're going to be seeing in the next 6 to 12 months.
Thank you. Alex?
It's a shame we didn't get more time for the interoperability questions. I'll say a huge amount of
I know.
being made So I think what we're going to see next is just exponential growth in interoperability. All of these different projects have built the bridges onto the blockchain as this agnostic, decentralized database, and then the bridges into virtual worlds and digital spaces. So this means it's very easy to set up your project on the blockchain, creating assets, interacting with the blockchain. But then you've got to think on the other side of that bridge is a virtual space that can very easily plug in and start reading data from the blockchain. And that's a very simple step, just to say, I acknowledge your assets and I'm going to reward holders of them in my project. And that's a very significant step in the water here. This is saying, I want to collaborate with you. These tools are here. You can get set up in just a couple of days and do something very, very simple, which touches this technology, which brings you users. And I think at that point, things get really exciting. So we'll end on that note.
Thank you so much, Alex, for that. And yes, I want for everybody to keep the conversation going through Twitter or Discord or on social media. And thank you for everybody that's contributed with questions and comments during today's live. We have Sebastian back from the BGA. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank the BGA and every single one of you for attending today's event. And thank you, everybody that has been watching live. Seb, exactly. If you want to share a few words from the BGA.
A few final words. Thank you for coming to this event today. It's quite interesting because all of you have been actors in the space for many years since 2017. So despite having a huge new hype around NFT, I think we can all say you guys are the pioneers in helping to shape the vision around NFT and to make it as accessible as possible to anyone. So it's interesting to see this new shift, and that's in part thanks to your contribution, all of you. And it's exciting to see now, like we have not only developers, but also like mainstream users, artists, anyone making NFTs in a snap. I've never seen it as easy as like it take a minute to make a new NFT and start putting it for sale on the marketplace or do other experiments with it. So, well, a big thanks for that. Let's keep it up. Really looking forward to the next step in the space, and hopefully we'll have this conversation again in 6 months or 12 months and see where we are from now.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian, and to you too. You're doing so much great work with the Sandbox and BGA here. So hats off to you as well.
Yes.
Completely.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you for watching and all the questions. It's been really a lively conversation also. So awesome. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.